do, 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 do.
Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You are joined by your two usual hosts here. We've got Tom Mannering and Josh Hartley. And Tom is impressed because I got it right.
You did.
This time.
I'm well impressed. I think that's the first time you've got it like smooth off the bat since Ben left.
Wow. I don't know. I think I've been doing all right.
I mean, you've been doing all right.
Well, okay, right.
Passable, acceptable, mid-range.
Why are you like this? Like,
Just
not even a minute into the recording.
I know. It's like I've got it. You had it easy because we had Ryan on last time, and you know it was all polite and gentry.
I know, it was wonderful.
Gentry, that's not the right word. Gentlemanly, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
Why can't we be like that, Tom?
It's not what we're in for, mate. It's not. You brought me on. You signed up for this.
I did not.
This wasn't on me.
This is. I take no responsibility for this. We're recording this on Bank Holiday Monday. So, how has how has things been?
Things have been all right. Yeah. It's been a slow weekend. I mentioned to you before the recording, I was a bit under the weather. A bit of man flu, as detractors will say. So I've been taking it easy for a few days, which it's nice having the benefit of a bank holiday Monday to do that, because you wouldn't get that benefit outside of that. It's kind of a shame, right? Because you're like, on the plus side, I've got a 3-day weekend to just like chill and recover and rest, and I don't have the stress of like, you know, phoning in sick or anything like that. And then on the flip side of it, I'm like, I spent my 3-day work weekend doing nothing. You know, it wasn't productive in the slightest. I say that though, I've prepped an RPG for tomorrow night, so that's done. So that was productive. I've watched a lot of stuff on TV because I've been in bed for a large chunk of it, and a lot of YouTube. And I have played some computer games as well. So although it's maybe not productive in the conventional sense, I have chewed through some material in my own way. Do you ever like, I don't know if you do this, I was talking to a friend of mine who does it as well. Do you ever get really angry when you're at home and you have no way of like getting that anger out of your system, so you clean? Like, do you ever angry clean?
No, I have heard of this though, so I'm not gonna sit here and like do a bit where I make you feel like a weirdo for doing that, because I know that is a thing. Yeah,
so I was quite frustrated like by like Sunday kind of thing, you know, having not felt great, and I felt kind of well enough to get up, and I was in the living room, and for people who've never been to my flat, which I imagine is a lot of our listeners, otherwise that'd be creepy.
I would like to think it's the majority of our listeners.
But my kitchen and my living room are one room kind of thing. There's a sort of a breakfast bar that partitions them. But I basically went in, and the kitchen was a bit of a mess because I just kind of had food and chucked dishes aside and that, because I've not been up to cleaning and that. And I was like, everything needs to be cleaned, and just like scrubbed down every surface and like mopped the floor, and that. I was knackered. Like, I spent about an hour doing it, and after it I was like, that was a terrible decision. Like, I just expended what last energy I had.
Did it get the anger out of your system at least?
It did. It was a nice frustration vent. So yeah, if you're like me, and you like a good angry clean, I'm sure you'll enjoy that.
There we go.
How about you, Josh? How are you?
Yeah, grand. It was my father's 60th birthday recently, so we spent the weekend celebrating that. So we went, as a family, we went out for a meal, which was the first time the whole family has been out for a meal in a restaurant since before, like, the COVID times. So that was really nice. We've got my nephew and my niece were there as well, and they're on their very best behaviour, which is good, because my nephew Gabe can kick off big style, so we dodged anything like that. And And then, yeah, I had a little get-together with some of my friends down here on the Sunday, which was nice. Kind of just celebrating getting an offer accepted for this house, and just hanging out and making the most of a bank holiday weekend. And this is me just back. So it's been pretty full, but a very nice, pleasant weekend all around. I did do a little bit of gaming. I played my dad at Scrabble for the first time in feels like forever.
There we go. I've been wondering when this was going to reappear.
Right.
Who won?
I did.
By a lot, or was it close?
40 points.
You won by 40 points.
Yeah, I won by 40 points. Yeah, it's not like a massive victory, but it's a victory nonetheless. So I was pretty pleased with that. That's the only gaming that I have been doing since we recorded last, to be fair. So, but I thought it was worth mentioning. We have got some news to have a chat about, so let us dive right into that. Let's kind of start with the first one that got announced over the weekend. So Tabletop Scotland, who we have previously been media partners for, announced the one that they are definitely going to be back next year. Two, that the dates that they are going to be back are going to be the 27th and 28th of August 2022. And three, they have confirmed that the venue is going to be the same, the Dewars Centre in Perth. So that is effectively the English Bank Holiday weekend in August 2022 is when Tabletop Scotland will return. And I'm pretty confident in saying we're planning on being there, aren't we, Tom?
We are, yeah. That would be basically this weekend then, wouldn't it?
Yes, it's in a year's time.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Or a week past for people listening to this on release day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good though. That's really good. Yeah, we will be there. God willing. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while. I think that will probably be my first convention back, because I don't think I'll probably be going to UK Games Expo next year. So I suspect that's probably going to be I'll never say never, but I think that will probably be my first one back, which will be interesting.
Yeah, I'm almost certainly going to go to UK Games Expo next year, unless COVID is just disastrous. But I miss conventions too much. I want to get back to it. So
yeah, we had some good times at conventions. I mean, you've done more than I have. I think I've done 2, maybe 3. But we've had a good time at the ones we've done before. And I mean, Tabletop Scotland's a highlight for me. It was probably my favourite one, because UK Games Expo is great, but it's very big, and I think it feels a little impersonal because of that. You can't have a massive convention and not have it feel a little impersonal. But the thing I really enjoyed about Tabletop Scotland is there were a lot of familiar faces. And, it was nice having a few more people that you recognised, and being close to home didn't hurt as well. Avoiding the massive commute that we had to get to UK Games Expo, as opposed to 50 minutes on a train to Tabletop Scotland.
Does make a bit of a difference, yes. So, as always, guys, watch this space as more announcements are made about Tabletop Scotland. We will be reporting on them, so we'll bring you that news as quickly and as swiftly as possible. We've got another announcement here. This is from Steamforged Games. Steamforged are taking pre-orders for Resident Evil 3, the board game. I say this not because either of us are particularly excited about it, but I do love a good opportunity to dunk on Steamforged Games, so I thought it is as good as any. So
you filled the vacuum a bit too quickly there, because what I was hoping you were going to do is introduce it and then sort of leave it open, and we could just put crickets chirping.
Oh damn!
But you're too quick, man.
I
too
will
keen.
remember that bit for next time, though.
Probably the only time I'll describe you being too keen in regards to Steamforged Games.
Yeah, we're not fans. I'm particularly it's not just Steamforged that are doing this, by the way, but I'm seeing a lot of like video game adaptations into tabletop games, and it just kind of feels like for the sake of doing it. Like I can't think of a single video game where I've been playing and I've thought, oh god, I wish someone would bring out a board game or a card game of this.
Yeah.
Have you? Am I insane or?
No, not really. Like as a kid, when I was a bit maybe less informed, and especially when games weren't as deep as they are now, I certainly thought about, wouldn't it be cool to have, you know, a Sonic board game, a Mario board game, you know, those kinds of things as board games back then would have been really novel. But nowadays, and I don't mean to besmirch board games because we love them, but a lot of board games can't really match up to the potential of a contemporary computer game. So
well, they're very different beasts,
yeah, they're different mediums, right? And there are some stories and some experiences that you can only get in a board game, and vice versa, you can only get them in a computer game. So some of them don't translate all that well, or it's just an IP like stamped over a generic game, which is what we find more often than not. It's either a generic game or a crap game. And the thing is, like,
or both.
Or both, yeah. I don't want to dislike Steamforged Games. They're a British company. They're not that far from where I was raised. I would love to like them. I would love to support them. I would love to be in their corner. But they've released some amount of crap, and they've not even released it well. And that makes it very hard to root for them. You know, like I would love to be like, Steamforged are doing this and we're really excited about it, and you know, we know it's going to be good, they've got a proven track record, but they don't. No. And that's what hurts. You know, it's there are companies I would much rather take my support from and give it to a company that was closer to home and that I had a bit of personal investment in. But those companies are doing good stuff that, you know, I want to praise and I want to support. You know, you look at companies like Fantasy Flight Games, or even like smaller studios that we've done stuff with in the past, or smaller creators, you know, where it's a 1 or 2 man band. They release better content than a company, you know, than an actual studio. Now, I don't know how big Steamforged Games are, but they're big enough that, you know, they should be releasing better quality stuff. And just these computer game IP like clones is the closest I can kind of draw a comparison to. Occasionally you might get a nice model in there just by luck. Like some of the Dark Souls stuff is alright. It looks quite nice, but the game's not great.
Well, I actually wasn't keen on the Dark Souls miniatures, and I'll tell you why. They're basically just the same 3D designs as what are in the video games, which I get. You know, aesthetically you want it to look like the video game, otherwise is there really much of a point? But you know, if you're designing like a 3D model for a video game, that's going to be very different to designing a miniature to be used on a tabletop. So they've got all these little bits of detail that it gets a little lost. Yeah. And yeah, I'm not keen on the whole thing at all. Just let video games be video games. Let board games be board games. Apart from doing like digital adaptations of board games, which, you know, is literally just, this is the board game, but we've got it on Steam now. I'm alright with that.
We've discussed this before, and I do think you can do good stuff with IPs. Like, you know, it's not that no IP ever translates well to a board game, but video games are they're a weird one now because they're becoming more of a multimedia IP. So they are becoming sort of films and TV shows and, you know, card games and board games. They're not just isolated to the one medium. And that's fine, but you do find that in a lot of instances, probably more than not, they don't translate very well outside of that medium. You know, I mean, there's the cliche joke about video game films sucking, and they predominantly have sucked. There's been a couple in recent memory that have been passable. Even the odd half-decent one, but it's taken a very long time to get there.
We are, of course, talking about the masterpiece that is Street Fighter, the film.
I was talking about Super Mario Brothers, but yes, we can. That works too. Or Mortal Kombat, which is not great. There's so many. I mean, the list goes on. It's not good by any stretch of the imagination.
I heard the recent Mortal Kombat film was actually okay.
I've not seen it, but that's what I heard. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not resounding praise.
Great! Yay!
Yeah.
It's average!
I guess not how you sell someone on something. You know, do you want to try this thing? It's okay. I mean, I guess if I've got absolutely nothing else, I'll accept passable. I actually have. I didn't mention this to you before the episode, and I wasn't trying to spring this on you, but I do have a couple of bits of minor news.
Okay.
That are personal, but one of them relates to something we discussed on last week's episode.
Oh,
so
right.
I mentioned on last week's episode I was going to try out Warhammer Plus.
So you did?
Well, no.
Well,
because I sat down this morning and I went, I've got some time on my hands. I've promised Josh, my loyal and trusted co-presenter, that I'm going to check out Warhammer Plus. So I'm going to log into Warhammer Plus and I'm going to subscribe and I'm going to have a look through it.
mm-hmm.
And I went on to Warhammer Plus and I tried to subscribe, and I've done it over the course of the day, and every time I've got an error 404 message. And I was like, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Okay.
So I do some Google searches. It's not just me.
Oh no. Was it too many people are trying to get subscribed to it at once? Is that why it's coming up with the error?
Don't know. But it's, I mean, this was at like 9 o'clock on a Sunday on a Monday morning that, you know, I couldn't get onto it. How many people are trying to subscribe to Warhammer Plus at 9 a.m. on a Monday? And I've been on it sort of over the course of the day trying to get on. There have been people who have got on because I've seen people's comments about it. So this clearly isn't, you know, it's not working at all. But there's clearly something that's causing issues. If I can't get onto it, and other people can't get onto it. So, in regards to my review of Warhammer Plus, at the moment, it's not great. But we will see. I will persevere, and I will try and get onto it.
Of course, it is very out of character for Games Workshop to mess up the digital launch of something.
I don't actually know their track record. Have they got a bad track record with digital launches?
I mean, I can tell you the Warhammer 40k app sucks.
Well, this is true. Yeah, that's true. That did not get rave reviews, did it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it you who was playing with that, and like my Gene Stealers just had a unit that wasn't even on it?
No, but I remember you telling me about this. So, yeah.
It's so annoying. Like the codex is on there, and I'm trying to add my army on, and it's like this unit just isn't there. It's in the codex.
Did you make a unit up, Tom?
Did I what?
Did you make it up?
The unit? No.
Does it exist in the actual codex?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Just like a Gene Stealer mounted on a toilet roll or something.
I had it in my head like Gene Stealer Cavalry. Like,
I don't hate that idea. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I don't either. But they don't exist. So it wasn't that.
It wasn't that. No, it was the quad bike. It was the Gene Stealer quad bike. Isn't an option.
Oh yeah. Oh, weird.
In the biker list. The other bit of news I have as well is on Saturday, whilst I was laying in my bed feeling sorry for myself, I got a delivery. And it was a delivery of Marvel Champions. It was the new box set. So I got the Mad Titans Shadow, which is the new expansion with Thanos, and it's actually got a lot of Thor-centric stuff in it, which I hadn't realised. So it's got like Loki as a villain. It's got the Warriors 3 and a few other bits that are kind of Asgardian related. So that was cool. So I did that, kind of perked my side up a little bit because I sat in bed and had a read through the decks that were in there. So now I've got to go and order some deck protectors for that. But I'd actually forgot I'd ordered it. I'd ordered it a few weeks, if not months back. So that was a nice surprise.
I actually love it when that happens. Because it's like, I completely forgot about this. Oh, this is a nice present for myself.
Little gift from past me to future me.
Yeah.
It's always a good place to be. So yeah, that's my two bits of news that I'd forgot to mention.
Cool. No worries. No, good. Actually, when you mentioned deck protectors, it's the most mundane announcement for me. But Tom, the great work is finally complete. I've finally finished sleeving all of my damn Magic the Gathering cards in these same sleeves.
I like how you call it the great work. Like it's on par with like the pyramids. You know, it's one of the wonders of the world.
And on the pedestal, he read, "My name is Josh Hartley. View these work." I messed up the quote. Don't laugh!
You make it so easy. I don't even need to mock you anymore.
Yeah. I was going to do the Ozymandias, "Behold my works, ye mighty in despair" thing. It was a satisfying moment, though, getting it all done. So that's been nice, and I've been able to put a couple of... I've got a deck put together, and I'll build a couple of more. I'm going to be playing Commander on Wednesday, so I'll need to get some decks sorted out for that. That's it. I don't have anything else to report on that front.
So how long... I'm gonna draw this bit of content out. How long did it take you to do all that?
I don't know. It took me most of the month, I think. Not that, like, it's not, like, the only thing I've been doing in my downtime, obviously, but it's usually, if I have a free evening, I'll pop something on YouTube and I'll just get sleeving away.
How many hours would you, if you were just ballpark guessing?
Let's go with 4 or 5.
That's not too bad. That's fairly decent, to be fair. I thought it was going to be more.
I have used almost all 2,000 sleeves. So
crazy.
It is. There is a lot. That's including like my basic lands though, but still, it's quite.
I was thinking about this the other day because I've got a few new decks of Magic, so I've had to kind of dig into the vault and pull out some old deck protectors and things. So like for all my card games, Legendary Champions, things like that, I use just transparent ultra
penny sleeves.
Yeah. But for Magic and that, I'll tend to use colour ones, usually the coordinates the colours in the deck in some format. So I was making a deck and I was like pulling out some of these deck protectors to sleeve it up, and I was thinking, like, as I was doing it, I was like, I wonder how many deck protectors I actually own, like across all the things that I've got sleeved, because it must be thousands.
Yeah.
You know, and that's thousands and thousands of little pieces of plastic that you've put little pieces of card inside of. It's maddening to think about.
Yeah, our hobby's ridiculous, but I'm okay with it. I've made peace with it.
most hobbies are ridiculous if you like break them down to their core components. You know, it's like people who are disparaging about football. It's like it's a bunch of men kicking a ball around a pitch, or like fishing. You're sitting on a bench or a little seat, like putting little worms on a tiny piece of metal and throwing it into the water. They're crooks. Most hobbies are a bit ridiculous, so it's a lot.
There we go. Anyway, we do have another bit of news, and I wanted to get your take on this, Tom. So I'm gonna just read verbatim this announcement, and we'll get your reaction. So. Renegade Game Studios is introducing an RPG system called Essence20. Now, to put this into context, they are doing some of the licensed games that are coming out for Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. I'm just going to read this out. So, behind the scenes of Renegade's upcoming Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, and Transformers role-playing games lies a brand new system, Essence20. Read on to learn a little about this new system and tune into Renegade Con Virtual Special Edition this weekend to see it in action in the new games and learn more about it from the creative team. So first off, as you may suspect from the name, Essence20 is a D20 based system. The core mechanic for resolving a roll is for the player to roll a D20 along with their skill die, ranging from a D2 to a D20. The result of the D20 and the skill die must exceed the difficulty of the test in order to succeed. Characters with a specialisation in the skill being tested get to roll their skill die and all dice below it and pick the highest result to add to their D20 roll, increasing their odds of success. What's more, a max value roll on any die is a critical success, leading to more chances for crits and more opportunities for great role-playing incorporating them. Character creation follows a three-pronged approach based on their origin, role, and influence. Characters' abilities and skills are based on the 4 S's: strength, speed, smarts, and social. These options give an amazing depth and breadth to the variety of characters that a player can create. Character backgrounds, character flaw system, and story point system lend themselves to a cinematic and cooperative role-playing experience that is a great fit for the settings like Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. And that's basically it. So, what were your thoughts based on that?
It's not great.
Yeah, I can use the crickets for that section.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, right, so I have a couple of issues with it.
Okay.
You don't need to use the D20. Like, developers need to get away from this. Like, just because D&D uses it, you don't have to have a D20 in. Like, this Essence D20 is just another way of saying it's a D20 system, be it, like Modiphius do, like, they have the 2D20 system, and D&D obviously have the D20 system. Like, just, if you're going to do it, just call it a D20 system. Like, don't give it a fancy name and try and make it like you've created, reinvented the wheel, because you haven't. Don't laugh at me.
I'm laughing because I knew this is how you would react to it.
It's unnecessary. The other thing is the dice adding to the D20 is, it can be so trivial and it becomes a little bit redundant, because like adding a D2, what is that? Do you flip a coin? Like what is that? D2 does not exist. You could get like a 6-sided dice and have 3 sets of 1 and 3 sets.
I imagine that's what they've done.
But hang on, I'm not finished.
Okay. Wow.
But if you have a system where if one of those dice rolls its highest value, it's a critical, that means a D2 has a 50% chance of being a critical success.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. It's kind of like, that's weird. That's weird.
It's really weird, because I would assume a D2 would be something you would assign to a low stat, right? It would be like something you don't have a lot of skill in. So how are you criticaling on it so easily if you're garbage at it? Now maybe we're just jumping the gun here, and maybe lower dice don't have the benefit of this to mitigate that. The other thing is as well, I'll finish on this so that you have a chance to speak, is you're making a generic system and then just bolting things onto it. And I'm sorry, but while this might be appropriate for like maybe Power Rangers and Transformers, it's maybe then not appropriate for G.I. Joe, or vice versa. You know, it might fit 1 or 2, but then it's not. You get your world and you get your idea of what you're going to embody with that system, then you build the system to make to flesh those out and make it work. You don't have a system and then try and squeeze whatever you've got into that hole. You know, it's like the kid with the box with the holes in the top trying to put the square peg through the triangle. Like, it just doesn't work. And while you could say, well, you know, G.I. Joe and Power Rangers and Transformers all include vehicles and all include people, they do, but in very different ways in what they actually serve.
Well, this was kind of, yeah, you've pretty much hit all of the beats that I was going to hit. The system for me is neither here nor there. I agree with you. It's like, well, just make it a D20 system like Dungeons and Dragons if you're going to do that. Yeah. Like, we don't need this extra faff on there. But like, my thinking was right. Okay, so Transformers has a very unique thing to it in that I am assuming you play as a Transformer. Otherwise, God, that's going to be a lame game if you're just playing the humans in the Transformers universe.
Yeah,
right?
Like you get to play as Shia LaBeouf. That's
oh God,
that's your gaming experience, right there. Can you imagine handing out the pre-gens? Like, you'll be Optimus Prime, you'll be Bumblebee, and you'll be Wiki, whatever his name is, his character.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the table, like, what?
And that player's just like, I'm sorry, what the f*** is this? Like, but yeah, so assuming that everyone is playing as a Transformer, they have a pretty unique thing to them in that they transform, right? And I suppose maybe to an extent you could do it in Power Rangers. You can have like out of costume and then transforming into the Power Rangers, I guess, as a little bit. G.I. Joe doesn't do that.
No.
They're just always on.
Yeah.
Like,
but then they have vehicles as well, so they would have like tanks and planes and things. So, but you need each of those have slight differences. Like they all have a humanoid element and a vehicle element, or a mech element, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's beyond the realms of possibility that they would have a similar system potentially might sit behind them, but they should be individual systems. At the very least, I wouldn't release them with the premise of all being one system encompassing, unless, and I would respect them if they did this, but I guarantee they won't, you said you can interchange the systems, so you can have Power Rangers and Transformers together, or G.I. Joe and Transformers together.
I mean, that would be pretty dope.
That would be kind of cool. That's kind of passable. But I bet they don't do that.
No, I agree with you, sir. Here's an interesting observation. What do those three properties have in common?
The Hasbro properties?
Bang on. Why didn't Hasbro give this to Wizards? They have, within their own company, a subdivision that just that writes like Dungeons and Dragons, like
the most famous role-playing game in the world. Right?
Yeah, like for most people starting off designing a role-playing game, that's going to be their most common starting point, right? Why did they not give this to Wizards?
What do you think?
Well, Wizards probably have too much. Yeah, this is it. The answer is money. It's just trying to figure out is it that it was it just cheaper to license this out, or was that more lucrative than doing it in house? I don't know.
Do you know what I think it might be, and this is maybe the prominent cynic in me. I wonder if they don't have enough confidence in it to have it stamped by Wizards.
But if it was stamped by Wizards, then it would just be better. Okay, right. We should hold our horses here. This game has not been released yet. None of these systems have. This one system to rule all of these settings.
The Hasbro system.
Yeah, this system. I've forgotten its name now because Essence20. Right, Essence20 has not been released. We haven't played it. We are just basically going off this brief description that I've read off there. So, for all we know, we'll have a crack at it and would actually really enjoy it. That being said, it doesn't sound wonderful.
I would have had more confidence if they'd been a bit more creative off the bat with the system. So, do some. You don't necessarily need to do something completely different, but I think there's being a bit creative, playing it safe, and going just off the reservation, right? And you've got to find somewhere that's sort of a middle ground between playing it safe and going off the reservation. This is a little too close to playing it safe for me. Where, if anything, I wish they'd just gone all in and played it completely safe and just taken the D20 system, which can't have been that difficult for them given it's a Hasbro property, and then put the IPs onto it and done it that way. Alternatively, because then you're not really putting your faith in the system, you're putting your faith in the IP, which is ultimately what you probably want to do with this particular launch anyway. Right? Yeah,
right. Like, all three of those have some pretty devout fans that would definitely, which, in that old Venn diagram, the crossover of like Transformers fans and D&D fans probably has a fairly significant, it's certainly a non-zero overlap, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you could go much more creative, and you could put a lot more stock in the system and go, closer to to being off the reservation and a bit more creative with it. But then obviously you're rolling the, no pun intended, you're rolling the dice on whether or not that system.
Hey, that's getting an air on.
Whether or not that system lands. Shut up. Whether or not that system's actually successful or not, and then the whole thing, it becomes a house of cards situation, because if the system underneath it is too out there and doesn't hold together, the IP's not going to matter if it's garbage. So I think they've in a weird way they've not played it safe enough, or they've just not been creative enough. They've gone in a weird area that I wouldn't have gone in, where it's just a bit meh. And that's kind of my feelings about it. It's just a bit meh. Like, I would have been quite interested in a Power Rangers RPG, probably not to play. Like, I'm a 36-year-old man. I'm probably past playing Power Rangers. Only probably. I'm not saying no. Right? And I would have been interested to read it though, and have a look and see, what they've done, how did it work. Same for Transformers, and I've never been into G.I. Joe. It's not my thing.
Well, G.I. Joe didn't really translate over to UK audiences anyway, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I think the question that I assume most of our listeners have on our minds now is that, Tom, in the playground, which Power Ranger were you?
I was the Green Ranger.
You were the Green Ranger?
Yeah.
Wow, you were you're the one that people couldn't trust. Interesting.
That's not my takeaway from that. But yes, I suppose I was. Or the White Ranger when he... So the thing is, right, when you were playing Power Rangers in the playground, it's very, very tricky was playing Power Rangers in the playground, because, and we're talking about the original Power Rangers here, right, not the weird Hyperforce or whatever they're called now. So when you would play Power Rangers, you'd obviously play on the ground, and you'd be like, hiya, people doing the karate and stuff. But then you'd sometimes, and it's certainly in my games of Power Rangers as a kid, we would get the Zords at some point in the game.
Oh, wow, okay.
So you had this, it became sort of a pecking order of the people that were higher up in the social status of the group would always pick the bipedal Power Rangers first, so that you didn't have to get on all fours for the Zord parts. So
right, hold on. Just remind me though. What was Green Ranger's Zorg?
It was a Dragon Zord.
Oh, nice.
So it had the flute, which I can still remember the theme tune for, which is insane. So you had the flute.
Tom.
What?
Let's hear it.
It was do 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 do. There you go.
Beautiful.
I had that as my.
I'm gonna open every episode now with that jingle.
So he had the Dragon Zord, and then the Red Power Ranger was the leader. So he had the
T-Rex. I remember that.
Tyrannosaurus, as it was announced, and then you had the Triceratops, the Mastodon, the Pterodactyl, and the Saber-toothed Tiger. So you had the Pterodactyl was quite an easy one, because it was, you just put your arms in the air and play in it, right? But no one ever wanted to be that, because that was the Pink Ranger, and you very rarely got girls in your Power Rangers game, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember it became a bit of a sort of thing about who would be the Green and the Red Ranger, because you had the bipedal Zords. But then when the Green Ranger became the White Ranger, This is the kind of person I was even as a kid, and I was a lot shyer as a kid and a lot more withdrawn, but I would not play the Zord element once it became the White Ranger. I still wanted to be the White Ranger, but I wasn't getting on all fours.
Well, I'm picturing 6-year-old Tom just crossing his arms, just going, well, I'm just not doing that.
Yeah.
You guys could just go.
It was very
take one.
This is Tom, we've played like this for a year. Nope, not anymore. New rules.
Oh man, nice.
I loved Power Rangers. I absolutely adored it when I was a kid, and I
It
remember
was humongous when we were kids.
Oh, it was so big. Do you remember there was you had almost the Satanic Panic, because there were kids allegedly injuring each other because they were playing Power Rangers and stuff, and they were trying to do these moves on each other, and it did happen. Unequivocally there were cases of it, but I don't think it was probably any more than kids injure each other in general. It just became more prolific because it was tied to
like
popular.
people had something to blame it on, and I really like how much damage can a roundhouse kick from a 5-year-old do?
Yeah, exactly.
So
it was massive, and like it was like the toys were massive. You know, they were selling like hotcakes. The show was massive. Like you'd rush home to watch it, and that. I loved it. I remember I really wanted the Tiger Zord when the White Ranger came out, and they were quite expensive. I think they were about 30 quid back then, which was a hell of a lot.
A lot of money,
at that point in time. God, I sound so old when I say that. And my mum was like, "I'm not giving you money for that. It's too much." But my mum always had a thing that if I wanted new toys and it wasn't my birthday or I hadn't saved up for it, I had to get that money. Not by like shoplifting or anything. You got to get creative, son.
To clarify, Tom did not break the law to earn that money.
No. Arguably. So, what I did.
This episode has took an interesting turn.
No, because there's some legal sort of quibbles about this because I had a yard sale to get the money for it, and there are actually some legalities about selling things. Like, although yard sales and car boot sales are really common, I think on a legal standpoint they're not always entirely
legit.
Legal. But you're not gonna like arrest a kid.
You were running a black market in Burnley to raise up the funds to buy the Tiger Zord.
Yeah, that's it. And I remember like I had this yard sale, or like I sat, so you couldn't get to our yard, but at the corner of my street there was like a little patch of grass. So I took a blanket to this little patch of grass. Don't laugh at me.
No, it's endearing.
I took a blanket to this little patch of grass, and my mum helped me like bring all my old toys out that I didn't want anymore. And my mum like stood in the garden so she could see me, but I was like sat on my own on my blanket with all my toys, and like kids had come over and they'd buy stuff off me and that. And I raised like £25, and I was so upset because I was like, I was so close, but I didn't have enough. And my mum, like, she gave me the extra £5, and I ran to Argos. Like, to this day, I remember that journey to Argos. I was so excited. I was like, I'm gonna get the Tiger Zord. And like, I went in and like holding up my bag of money that I've like got from selling all my toys.
Nice.
It's a happy memory.
Do you still have the Tiger Zord?
No, I don't. No, I think it got sold off when I was older. I loved it though. I played with it religious. I like took it to primary school with me and stuff, and like I remember like you could put him on top of like the Megazord as well. I think like that was its whole thing. And my mate had the Megazord. I didn't have the Megazord, but my mate had the Megazord, and like I remember putting it on, and we were just so excited. We were like, "Oh my guys, have the Megazord!" It was like, I love that, man. I miss, like, a lot of people are really like nostalgic about being kids. Like, oh, I wish I could go back and that. For the most part, I don't. But that is one of the few things I'm like, if I could go back and recapture that moment, that would be like amazing.
I feel that kind of moment whenever like a new game I'm looking forward to, or like a new Magic set or Warhammer like release comes out. So. That's
a big difference between me and you, though. You still have that youthful exuberance, and that ability to feel joy.
Yeah, that got beaten out of you years ago.
It did, yeah. I just don't quite have that that level of optimism anymore.
I'm trying to squeeze in a gag about doing Power Rangers LARPing. I'm struggling to find the segue. It was going to be like committing you to trying to Power Rangers LARPing and reporting back to us. Would you don the spandex for reporting purposes?
Not for the next few months at least. Not until I've lost my COVID figure a little bit more. I have worn spandex in public. Once. Not for any kind of dish.
You don't need to elaborate. You don't need to elaborate.
Are you sure? You sure you don't want to hear?
I think you want to. You might want to for your own sake.
So I, years and years ago, me and a couple of friends of mine went out as superheroes for Halloween. That's
perfectly normal.
Maybe. So
it was Halloween, right?
It was Halloween, right?
Yeah, so everyone's fancy dress for Halloween.
Right? But we were like, okay, well, let's get like decent costumes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't just want like the crappy Superman one you get off the rack where it's all like bulgy and stuff. So we went online and we found like a website that delivers costumes. So we ordered these costumes. I think I still have this somewhere. We ordered these costumes and I went as Green Lantern. Now, for anyone who doesn't know Green Lantern, I assume you probably should, because there's a Ryan Reynolds film that's terrible. He has like a skin tight costume in the comics. So we ordered it and it's latex. Now, I'd never worn like spandex, latex, whatever you want to call it. Spandex, not latex. That would be a very different costume. I'd never worn spandex. So this turns up and it's like skin tight, and I mean like figure hugging levels of tightness. And I like put this on and I'm like, I can't wear this in public. Like this, I'll get arrested if I wear this in public. So
it wasn't leaving anything to the imagination.
Nothing to the imagination. Like nothing. Every crease and every crevice was on show. So eventually I went out and I bought a rugby cup to wear on my nether regions for everybody else's benefit than my own. So I wore that, and my friend bought a jock strap, which is still not entirely concealing when you've got spandex on over the top of it. So we went out on a night out. We went to like a club and that. And I've still got some pictures somewhere. It was a weird night, man. And the thing was as well, because it was a full body suit, and I didn't even think about this until we went out. You couldn't go to the bathroom. You know, going to the bathroom was a whole thing. You know, it was getting undressed basically to go to the bathroom. So yeah, I've worn spandex once for that night out, and never again.
There we go. What a way to sign off the episode. Tom has never worn spandex ever again. But if you'd like him to, like, comment, and subscribe. Right here, guys. Look, as always, thank you very much for listening. And until next time, take care. Bye. Thank you.